Narnia. Nerds in Paradise. Nigel Nickleby, co-founder, director and lead engineer of Digibeat, until recently Banania's sole high-tech company, and now one of two high-tech companies, was not a happy man. From his desk in the tech node at Digibeat's offices, workshops and lodgings, he could clearly hear his secretary Lily Dobson in the office next door, chatting and laughing happily with someone at the other end of a telephone conversation. Normally this would not have bothered Nigel, but with the arrival of UberSnak to Banania, things had changed a little. And specifically with the arrival of UberSnak's marketing manager. Though he would never admit it, especially to himself, Nigel quietly resented Lily's newfound friendship with Hewy Bloomsbury, UberSnak's aforementioned marketing manager. Huey, a few years younger than Nigel, was sophisticated, charming, and took time to work out. Basically, he was a younger, more healthy, and significantly more attractive version of Connor O'Connor, Digibeat's marketing director. Unfortunately, and unbeknown to Huey's boss, Gerda Von Strudel, UberSnak's founder, director and creative brain, Digibeat's two female staff members, Lily Dobson and Page Paine, had become somewhat resentful of her. Even though an interesting relationship was starting to blossom between herself and Hewy Bloomsbury, Lily was not pleased that Gerda seemed to be getting along a little too well with her boss and her long-time almost boyfriend, Nigel Nickleby. This was compounded by Gerda's newfound friendship with Jemmy Johnson, Lily's mum, who enthusiastically talked cooking with Gerda, while accusing Lily of never ever being really interested in the fine art of food making at all. The other offended Digibeat female, Page Paine, on the other hand, suspected Gerda of being even more proficient at everything she did than she was, believing that she herself was the only really competent person on, well, the whole island, really. That same morning, whilst pretending to bump into Lily by accident and after some light-hearted banter, Huey asked her out to the island's only fancy restaurant. And though she was a little reluctant at first, Lily was quickly persuaded by Huey's pleas at being new on the island and far away from his friends back home. Apart from anything else, Lily's many attempts to develop a serious relationship with Nigel, her boss, invariably ended with him waffling on about something technical or philosophical, but never about her, and especially never about them. And here was Huey, also English, though with a very different accent, handsome, sophisticated, and obviously interested in her. Jemmy Dobson, Lily's mum, was not so convinced about Huey as Lily was, though. She'd seen the way he looked at the other girls and was concerned that her daughter was being led astray by someone she considered arrogant and not completely honest. Nigel may be a little dull, but at least he was genuine. And so, A few balmy Bananian evenings later, Lily found herself seating at Chez Leicester, the island's sole sophisticated restaurant, laughing and chatting with Hewy Bloomsbury, and feeling, for once, the centre of someone else's attention. Her reverie was interrupted somewhat by Benji, the restaurant's waiter, and a djembe drummer at her father's church, who came over to greet Lily and her new, tall, white friend. "Oh, good evening, Lily, and how you doing this pleasant evening? Not often we sees you here without Mr. Nigel, hey, Lily?" "Yes, yes. Well, thank you, my man. Thank you. We would like to order some beverages, and I would like to peruse the menu, if that is not too much to ask," cut in Huey, obviously offended at the waiter's familiarity with Lily and the unfortunate mention of Nigel. Some days earlier, Gerda Von Strudel had realised that some kind of occasion was needed to celebrate having moved UberSnak to Banania, and to cement their somewhat strained relationship with Digibeat after the drain cleaning episode in last month's episode. So Gerda decided to do what she knew best. And so it had been announced that a special picnic was to be held in the grounds of Hankey Hall, organised and catered for by UberSnak, and Gerda in particular. Now, suspecting that Gerda's motivation for such a lavish event was to consolidate her position both with Nigel and as a creative superwoman, both Lily and Page became almost desperate, believing that life on Banania would never be the same again. So, deciding that strong measures were needed to thwart Gerda's connivings, Lily and Page started to plot a fiendish plan. Now let's move on a few days later to Lily and Huey at Chez Leicester, the restaurant. After ordering one of the most expensive wines on the menu, Huey commenced to impress Lily with his prowess as a connoisseur of fine wines. He took the bottle from the shelf near their table where Benji had left it, and with an air of intelligent sophistication, Huey tipped the bottle in order to read the label more clearly. Unfortunately, Benji, the waiter, attempting to be as professional as possible, had already uncorked the bottle to allow it to breathe. Now, Huey's elaborate tipping movement, cruelly aided by gravity, ensured that a significant amount of wine rapidly flowed from the bottle onto the table and all down Lily's best dress. Why didn't you just move out of the way? You can't blame me if you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, snapped Huey, as Lily sprang to her feet in horror and disgrace, looking down at the wreck of what had once been her very, very best dress. "And I don't see you giving me any sympathy," continued Huey hotly. "That bottle cost me a fortune." Which was the last complaint Lily heard him make as she rushed out of Chez Leicester, dripping a trail of expensive red wine behind her. The next morning was the day of Gerda's special picnic. The day when Lily and Page would put their sabotage plan into action. And whatever reservations Lily had had in doing something to disgrace the UberSnackers had now faded into oblivion, along with her ruined dress and a certain amount of her self-respect. Now she determinedly aided and abetted Page in order to bring down these haughty new arrivals. So, using the pretext of needing to powder their noses, both girls sneaked into Hanky Hall and waited for the moment that Gerda left the kitchen. With Page standing lookout, Lilly slid silently into the kitchen and stirred a generous amount of soda powder into a bowl of Gerda's cookie mix, which she had set apart to rise. As Lilly left the kitchen and took over the task of lookout, Page snuck in and poured half a bottle of vinegar into the self-same bowl of cookie dough. Then she turned to leave, but Page spotted a large open bag of sugar with an evil chuckle, ha 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 ha, and determined to make it truly inedible, Page emptied the complete contents of the sugar bag into the mix and gave it one final vigorous stir. As they returned to the picnic, it was very obvious to Lilly that Hewy Bloomsbury was in his element, chatting and laughing with the guests, very much the perfect host. It was also very noticeable that he avoided any contact with her at all, apart from, that is, mumbling under his breath as he walked by about feeling deeply insulted at being stood up the previous evening. As the picnic drew to a satisfactory end, Gerda had one extra little treat in store: freshly baked cookies from her very own secret recipe. It was her marketing manager, Hewy Bloomsbury, who took them out of the oven while she busied herself with the duties of hostess. So you can imagine Gerda's consternation when she saw the finished cookies for the first time. They were at least 3 times their intended size. It was too late to stop now, though, and everyone, well, that is except Lilly, Page and Gerda herself, eagerly grabbed a fist-sized delicacy. Gerda simply waited in confusion and mounting dread. After the moments it takes to take a bite and taste a cookie, the assembled company suddenly burst into rapturous applause. Gerda got resounding congratulations on being a superbly creative cook, baking such wonderfully light and fluffy pavlova-like cookies. They'd never seen nor tasted anything quite like them in all their lives. Whilst nodding in gracious acknowledgement, Gerda was enough of a cook to realise that her cookies had gone very wrong indeed. And the only way for that to happen was they had been tampered with in the kitchen. Worst of all, the person responsible for getting them out of the oven was none other than Hewy Bloomsbury, the ever-devious Englishman. Was he trying to bring her into disgrace? To destroy her credibility so that he could take over UberSnak on this isolated island? If he was planning a coup, then Gerda would have to watch Hewy Bloomsbury very carefully indeed from now on. That was Banania. Please subscribe via Apple Podcasts or your favourite podcast provider. And for more information, visit bananiapodcast.com.